I died saving a child. God called me back. My name is Sarah Bennett. I am 38 years old, a music teacher in Charleston, South Carolina. I also spend evenings volunteering at a small shelter, playing guitar and singing with kids who don't have much else. Before that night, I thought I understood what mattered in life. I was wrong. It was late summer, and the air felt heavy with salt and rain. A storm had rolled in from the Atlantic. The storm rattled windows and shook the docks. My younger sister, Sam, called in a rush. A family's boat was caught in the estuary, the motor failing, and a little boy was in danger. I didn't hesitate. I grabbed my raincoat, tossed a flashlight into my bag, and drove with Sam toward the marina. The sky split with lightning as we pushed an old fishing boat into the water. The smell of diesel clung to my hands, mixing with the sting of salt spray. Every instinct told me this was foolish, but another voice inside whispered, "If you don't go, that boy might not make it." Waves slapped against the hull as we approached the stranded boat. I could see a woman clutching her son, maybe 9 years old, while the father struggled with the tangled ropes. Their panic hit me harder than the rain. "Hold on, we're coming," Sam shouted over the thunder. I moved toward the edge as the child slipped. He hit the dark water with a splash that swallowed every sound. I didn't think. I dove. The cold gripped me instantly, wrapping around my chest like iron. My ears filled with the muffled roar of water, my mouth with salt. I kicked hard, searching in the shadows. My hand brushed fabric, his shirt. I pulled him close, but the weight of the water dragged me deeper. My lungs screamed for air. Somewhere above, Sam's voice cracked through the storm, but it sounded far away. I tried to push upward, but the current pulled me down. The boy was slipping from my arms, the darkness pressing closer. My last thought was not about myself. It was a prayer whispered inside the rushing silence. "Lord, please don't let him die. Take me if you must, but save him." And in that moment, I felt something give way, as if the world I knew had just let me go. The water swallowed me whole. Every sound turned muffled, as if the storm had slammed a door between me and the living. My chest burned, my arms thrashed, and yet the current pulled me deeper. The boy slipped from my grip once, twice, until I tightened my hold with every ounce of strength I had left. I opened my eyes. Darkness. A faint shimmer from above, blurred by churning waves. The salt stung like fire. My heartbeat hammered in my ears, faster and faster, until it no longer felt like mine. It was as if my body had become a cage, locking me in while everything inside screamed to get out. For a moment, I thought of Sam. I imagined her on the boat, leaning over, shouting my name. I could almost hear her voice echo through the water, but it faded into silence. The boy's small hand brushed my arm. Limp. I fought harder, pushing upward. But then, it happened. The pressure disappeared. The burning in my lungs faded. My body became light, weightless, as if I had stepped out of it. I blinked, and suddenly, I was no longer inside the water. I was above it, watching. I saw my own body sinking, hair flowing like seaweed in the dark. The boy's shirt still clutched in my hand. Sam's arm reached desperately from the boat. Another man threw a rope. The scene unfolded like a play. And yet, I felt no panic, only awe. The storm's roar no longer deafened me. Instead, I heard something else. A hum, low and steady, like the beginning of a song. It pulsed through me, not through ears, but through the very center of who I was. Below, hands grabbed me, pulling my body toward the surface. But I hovered above, detached, watching. I should have felt fear, but what washed over me was peace, a deep calm I had never known. I realized then, I was still me, fully aware, but I was no longer bound to flesh and bone. Something greater was unfolding, and I was being carried toward it. I drifted upward, away from the storm, and the world below dissolved. The black water, the lightning, even the sound of the thunder, all of it slipped out of reach like smoke in the wind. What replaced it was light, not blinding, but alive. Shapes of color shimmered around me, and with every flicker came a sound. A golden glow rang like a violin string. A swirl of blue shimmered like the soft breath of a flute. Reds pulsed like drums. The air itself was music, wrapping me in a harmony that was both foreign and strangely familiar. I realized I was not standing on anything. I wasn't even standing. I was moving, floating through this vast expanse of light and tone. Notes drifted past me, and as they did, I felt them enter me. Each sound carried memory, comfort, even love. It was as if the very language of this place was music, and my soul instinctively understood it. Then I saw them. Figures began to form out of the glowing notes, not human, not ghostly, but radiant, like living instruments. One looked like the shape of a cello, tall and resonant, its curves shimmering with warmth. Another twirled like a playful flute, darting around me in laughter. A third pulsed steady, like the heartbeat of a drum, grounding me. They didn't speak with words. Their voices were chords, woven together, and somehow I understood every tone. They welcomed me, and I felt as though I had always known them. Their presence was joy itself, the kind that loosens every burden you didn't realize you carried. For a moment, I forgot Earth, forgot my body, forgot even the boy I had tried to save. All that existed was this symphony, alive and flowing through me. I thought, this is home. This is what I was made for. The music swelled, rising higher, brighter. And in that crescendo, I knew I was not drifting aimlessly. I was being led to someone. The glowing figures faded back into light, and in their place came a presence so overwhelming I could hardly bear it. He stood before me, not in the shape of an instrument, but as the one who commanded them all, the Maestro. He radiated authority without force, love without condition. His eyes were deep and endless, and when he looked at me, I felt as if every hidden part of my life was laid open. Yet there was no condemnation, only compassion. His voice was not a single tone but a chorus, rich and layered like an orchestra tuned perfectly together. "Shall we begin?" he asked, though his words came as a chord that resonated through me. I nodded, though I wasn't sure how. And then, in an instant, my life unfolded. Not as memories, but as melodies. The first notes were simple. A child's piano recital. My trembling hands missed half the keys. I felt the embarrassment again, the shame of wanting to quit. The maestro's eyes softened, and the melody shifted. I saw myself at 16, refusing to audition for the school choir, out of fear I wasn't good enough. That choice played like a muted trumpet, a sound of opportunities lost. But then came sweeter chords. The nights at the shelter, a little girl pressing her ear against my guitar, the laughter of boys who had never owned an instrument before. Their joy played like violins in spring, full of light. Through it all, I felt not only my emotions, but the emotions of others. Every kindness I had offered was magnified, echoing outward. Every time I withheld love, I heard the silence it left behind. Tears welled up, though I had no body to cry with. The maestro drew closer, his tenderness unbearable. "You see," he said, "your life has always been a song, but fear tried to silence it." I wanted to sink into his words forever, Yet I knew this was not the end. Something waited beyond this review. A decision, a call I could not avoid. The maestro's light dimmed, and for a moment everything around me shifted. The warmth of music faded, replaced by a silence that chilled me deeper than the ocean ever had. I found myself at the edge of a barren expanse. No color, no song. Only a gray stillness stretching endlessly, as if creation itself had stopped breathing. The air, if it could be called air, felt heavy, pressing down on me. It carried no melody, only static, a faint hum of emptiness. I knew instantly, this was not home. This was separation. I strained to hear the symphony again, but there was nothing. The absence of sound was louder than thunder, louder than grief. It was despair made into a place. And though I did not see faces, I sensed the presence of souls who had chosen to walk away from God. Their silence was unbearable. Fear clawed at me. I whispered, "Lord, don't leave me here." Then I remembered the boy. I remembered Sam. I remembered the faces at the shelter who leaned on me each week. A battle raged inside. Part of me longed to stay in the warmth I had tasted. Another part realized that love is not fulfilled by escaping. It is fulfilled by giving. The silence pressed harder, and I felt myself sinking toward it. In that moment, a single sound pierced the emptiness. A chord, clear, steady, like the strum of a guitar string. It came from beyond the shadows, pulling me upward. I reached for it with everything I was. The maestro's voice resonated once more. "It is not time. You still have work to do." The gray world shattered, breaking apart like glass. I felt myself falling, not into despair, but into descent. I opened my eyes to the harsh light of a small marina infirmary. The storm was gone, but its echo still pounded in my chest. Tubes ran from my arms, and the smell of antiseptic replaced the salt of the sea. My throat ached, raw from water and gasps. "Sarah, you're back." Sam's voice cracked as she clutched my hand. Tears streaked her face, but she was smiling. I wanted to speak, but my voice broke into whispers. "The boy?" I asked. "He's safe," she said quickly. "He's alive because of you." Relief swept through me, but with it came a heaviness I hadn't expected. I had seen something greater, something eternal. And now I was pressed back into the limits of flesh. Joy should have filled me, but instead a sadness settled deep. I felt like someone who had glimpsed their true home, only to be locked outside again. In the hospital days later, I drifted between sleep and waking. Sometimes I would hear faint echoes of the symphony, but they would fade as machines beeped and nurses moved past my bed. Sam stayed close. One night she whispered, "You were gone, Sarah. We thought we lost you. But when they pulled you back, your lips were moving. You were saying, 'Thank you, Jesus.'" Her words stirred something in me. I had no memory of speaking, but I knew it was true. My soul had cried it out. The boy I rescued, Eli, came to visit with his parents, his small arms wrapped around me, and I felt tears finally break free. He looked up at me and whispered, "I prayed you would come back." That simple sentence struck deeper than any medicine. I realized then, my return wasn't a mistake. It was a calling. But calling meant change. I couldn't just slide back into the same routines, the safe patterns. Something in me had to shift, and it did. The weeks after my release felt strange. People expected me to get back to normal. But I couldn't. I had seen too much, heard too much. The rhythms of this world felt shallow compared to the symphony I had touched. So I began to live differently. I left behind the comfortable routines that once defined me. Instead, I poured myself into music with purpose. At church, I sang louder, unafraid of judgment. At the shelter, I taught children how to strum guitars, how to find their own voices. Every chord we played felt like a prayer, every note a reminder that life itself is a gift. Family and friends noticed. They asked, "What happened to you out there?" I never gave the full story right away. I just told them this: God gave me back my life, and I can't waste it. The memory of the maestro still echoes in me. Sometimes in the quiet of night I hear a faint chord and feel his presence, steady and patient. It reminds me that fear doesn't get the final word. Love does. So if you're listening, I want you to know this. Don't wait for a storm or a hospital bed to open your eyes. Forgive now. Love deeply. Serve boldly. Life is fragile, but God is faithful. I died saving a child, but in truth, Jesus saved me. And now I live not in fear of death, but in the joy of knowing where home truly is.